Councillors, I declare the meeting open. We'll move to the first item on the agenda, and that's apologies and leave of absence. Councillors, we have an apology from Councillor Rodder tonight and a leave of absence for the 10th of June. And I myself will be seeking a leave of absence for the 10th of June because I'll be out of the city. So could I have somebody move that we accept that? Councillor Mears, seconded Councillor Brook. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Thank you. Passed. We'll move straight on to item 2, community consultation. And it looks to me like we have no community consultation tonight, so no one's speaking. We now have moved to item 3. We'll move to minutes of the previous meeting submitted for approval. Could I ask if someone could move them as being a true and correct record? Councillor Budd, seconded Councillor Sharpen. Any questions on those minutes? Any comments? I'll put that to the councillors. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against? Passed. Disclosures of interest. We'll go to item 4. Do we have any disclosures of interest tonight? Councillor Sutherland.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd like to disclose less than significant non-pecuniary interest in the fact that I was a part of the case study that is being presented in item 6.1, and I'll be staying in the room for that conversation.
Any other disclosures? There being no further disclosures, I'll go to item 5, mayoral minute. There is no mayoral minute tonight. I'll go straight to item 6, and that's notice of motion. We do have one notice of motion. Councillor Sutherland. Seconded Councillor Brook. You want to speak to that, Councillor Sutherland?
Yes, please, Mr Mayor. And I'm excited to bring forward this case study, the Yarreen Cultural Fish and Flows study that's been a result of just over 2 years of community engagement, focusing on the cultural pairing activity of Aboriginal community and the significance of our rivers and waterways. It's cultivated in the development of a really thorough case study that highlights that our communities are better when our rivers are healthy, and that across the board there are a number of things that we can all do to contribute to healthy river systems, but also just healthy country around our riparian zones. I'm asking for the support of councillors to be able to help direct staff, or to direct staff to create an implementation plan off the back of this case study. At the back of the document, I don't think I can hold stuff up, but if I could, I would. At the back, I guess, it's publicly available. 2 years it was spent in creation. It was released or published, I think on the 4th of March. So not too recently, or recently, but enough time to be able to digest it. Talks around the significance of the space that we now know as Paradise. Anyone who's a Tamworth local would know about Paradise. Anyone who's touched the bottom of Paradise would be a legend in anybody's eyes. And so talks around the significance of the place, people's connection to that place, but at the back what's really important is a list of potential pathways that services and organisations can look to pursue in an effort to create healthy river systems. The notice of motion is for staff to have a look at that case study and create a local implementation plan. I'm not suggesting what actions in the case study should be accepted, what that should look like. The wording isn't to be carried over completely. It's more of a guide for staff to be able to create a local implementation plan filtered off the back of genuine community consultation. For that, then I would, as says in the notice of motion, Mr Mayor, that all funds to deliver on the actions of the implementation plan would be sourced externally. So there's benefit for us as a council to be able to adopt or create a local implementation plan, setting some really clear guidelines and outcomes of what we're after, and use that as a foundation to seek external funds. I had some really good conversation recently with the state government saying they're looking to include this case study in a larger state government plan, which is really exciting news. We can only be optimistic, Mr Mayor, that the more that the state recognises case studies like this, especially in the implementation or attachments of their own documents, would give us a really good opportunity to be able to attract those external funds, to be able to deliver on local projects. So I'm looking for the support of all councillors for this notice of motion. I think there's very little risk for us as an organisation to be able to go through this path. Financial risk built into what we currently have, but the potential outcome is overwhelming. You know, we're talking around significant projects that us as a council and us as a community don't have the resources for. And so by creating a local implementation plan opens up potential pathways for external funding to be able to make sure that we can deliver real projects for us at a local level. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Sutherland. Do I have anyone wish to speak against that notice of motion? Do I have anyone wishing to speak to it? Any further comment? Councillor Rimpey?
Oh. Is that the one? Okay, I didn't think two lights turned on at the same time. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, for that, the opportunity to speak. Look, I think this is an exciting potential opportunity for our region to do what probably doesn't happen a whole lot inland. This could be our sand dunes program, basically, and I refer to sand dunes because there are so many examples where universities such as Southern Cross at Coffs Harbour, Charles Sturt, Port Macquarie, Newcastle University, Newcastle, all on the beaches there, where universities and institutions are involved in environmentally positively impactful and in some cases culturally impactful programs and initiatives that improve the environmental outcomes of certain areas. And our Paradise area of the river is effectively our sand dunes opportunity. And it's something that I think universities, and there are 3 mentioned there, but there might be others, of course, as this gets out there amongst networks. There may be others who might put their hand up and want to be involved. So it's an opportunity to build a partnership model that takes a part of the river, which is loved by many and culturally so important as well, and puts it right at the forefront of future progress.
Thanks, Councillor Rimpey. Any further comments? Councillor Mears.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to stand to support this motion. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and hopefully,
excuse me, Councillor Rimpey, can you? Thank you.
At no cost to council. Hopefully, that we can take what should be a jewel of our city, the Peel River. It's been here since millennia, since colonisation. Obviously, there's been detrimental effects on the flow of the river as it is or as it was. We'll never, replace that or turn that back to where it initially was. But if we can open this up as not only a cultural space for our Aboriginal residents, learn the history from them, but also make the river itself a fabric of our community, both pre-colonisation and since then, where all residents can work together and recognise the beauty of that river as it should be. I think we have some marvellous opportunities to improve what we have there and make it a much more habitable and visitable place for people from around the state.
Further comments, councillors? That being the case, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, show of hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, will now move on to environmental planning, and I'll go to 7.1, and I'll call for a mover and a seconder. Move Councillor Budd, second to Councillor Sharpen. Councillor Budd, do you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll speak to that motion. I'll turn my button on. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move the motion with the words as recorded, but in addition add 2 additional points. Item 3 would be that the works commence within 28 days, and item 4 would be to ensure recurrent funding is built into future budgets for maintenance and upgrades to the system.
You carry on speaking?
Yep, thank you very much. So councillors,
Sorry, before you do, I'm going to ask the seconder. Would you like to, you happy with that? Thank you. Councillor Budd.
thank you, Mr Mayor. The history of Tamworth CCTV goes back about 12 years, and we were very fortunate in that period to receive significant funding from both state and federal governments. And what has happened in that time, we've seen a magnificent system being built in our town, which provides safety to our community. It provides security to our buildings and our infrastructure, and it invokes a sense of feeling that there is someone out there watching when not all eyes can be there. We've seen historically that has been incredibly successful in assisting police in the work they do, ranging from a number of crimes right down to searching for lost children in the CBD. The unfortunate part about it is that the system, as with all technology, has almost reached its use-by date. We've got some fantastic cameras and technology in place, but the servers themselves are at risk of failing any moment. And in fact, we have seen one server fail. The main server that remains with us now, if that was to fail tomorrow, we would have no CCTV capacity within our city. So hence point 3 about starting that work in a very short period of time. One of the parts of this upgrade is not only will we upgrade the servers and the capability of the system, but the new programming and data support program is in fact a highly analytical and valuable tool. Currently, if our staff were to go and download a required piece of video evidence, that could take literally hours. It could take up to 10 or 12 hours for some jobs. That's factual in terms of some matters that have been called upon. This new system will allow that to happen in a matter of minutes. It is so, and the council have seen this in a workshop, how critical it is in terms of time savings. As a great example, the biggest festival in the Southern Hemisphere is our Country Music Festival. If we were to have a lost child in the middle of that CBD, let's just say that child was wearing a red shirt, that system could isolate and locate all the red shirts in the CBD in a matter of minutes. It's that critical to the safety of our community. This all comes from our Community Safety Committee, a group who has some really talented local people and agencies on that panel who spoke in support of this entire recommendation. Councillors, I commend this motion to you. I think it's important for the future of our community, and I hope that it comes through tonight and we get stuck into getting our CCTV upgraded and working to full potential. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Budd. Do I have any councillors wishing to speak against the recommendation? Do I have any councillors wishing to make further comment? Councillor Sharpen.
Yeah, just a brief one, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Regarding the technology, I'd like to commend the staff for actually, when they've had to replace cameras, they've used the latest technology, and this will give the opportunity and the ability, as Councillor Budd said, to be able to track people. So if a vehicle comes into town that's not supposed to be here or that's known to someone, they can punch the number plate in and it'll track exactly where they've been in Tamworth and lead them to find it, or as Councillor Budd said, find missing children. So I see this as being a really important step in the safety of our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Sharpen. Further comments, councillors? No further comments? Councillor Sutherland.
Yeah, this is more of a question. Just in regards to item 4, ensure recurrent funding is built in. Just some clarity. In the past, has that funding been sourced by external bodies like state and federal governments? And by accepting this notice, change of wording, Councillor Budd, are we relieving that financial expectation from other tiers of government to step in, or are we still going to advocate for the state and federal government to step in to the space which they should be occupying? I guess the fail-safe, I completely understand that we can't rely on this stuff crashing and it's not having safety in regards to CCTV. Yeah, just some clarity on that. I'm not sure whether or not that relieves the pressure to say that we're not going to ask for that money to be covered from state and federal governments, or whether or not, yeah, some clarity on that would be good.
Councillor Sutherland, grants that we received in the past are for the installation, but I might just ask the General Manager if he wants to make comment on the funding arrangements for maintenance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it would be fair to say that we haven't budgeted appropriately for the gift that we were given through the other grant funding, so we haven't had recurrent items in the budget, and typically we've waited for staff to say there is a piece of maintenance required and we put that through as a budget adjustment. The idea behind this is that we will, with the new system, understand its whole of life costs and put an annual amount away. It doesn't mean you necessarily spend that full amount in the first year when everything's brand new, but we will build that up in a restricted asset so that we can replace the system at a future date. The external funding is still really important, but it would be more of an expansion or an upgrade of the facility rather than the maintenance of the system that we put in place.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions or comments? Councillor Mears.
Just quickly, Mr Mayor, I understand where Councillor Sutherland's coming from, and a great explanation from the GM. Just wanted to say that as town expands, population gets bigger, obviously the cameras and the system may need to expand itself. I think maybe that would be the appropriate time to seek further grant funding, and then we'll have to look at that recurring cost again on that when the time comes.
Thanks, Councillor Mears. Yes, you can make comment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Mears, I will just add to that. I think one of the things we have to remember is, and Councillor Butters touched on this, the way technology is evolving now, these are going to become whole of community systems. So council obviously wants to protect local community assets, open spaces and so on. But you know, the ability to have a register of all of the businesses in town that have CCTV and have that mapped so that if there is an incident or any sort of event, we can easily track whether it's a vehicle, a person, whatever it may be, not just across our system, but by being able to tap into those other systems as well.
Further questions, councillors? There being no further questions, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour say aye with their hands. Aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, will now move to item 8, infrastructure and services. And the first item on the agenda is 8.1, Future Stars Pro-Am fight. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Sharp and seconded Councillor North. Councillor Sharp, and you wish to speak to that?
Find the button. Just very briefly, thanks, Mr Mayor. I mean, I won my last fight by 100 metres, but I think this is a great event to be put on because it'll bring establish a structured pathway for young people to, you know, emerging talent in the region. It's also going to provide mentorship, funding, and access to facilities, and this is supported through the council sport event and subsidy policy budget, and I think this is a really good way to give back to the community, and also you know, we're looking at a return of about 2,000% on the $10,000 subsidy, so I think that'll be really beneficial for this event.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Anyone wish to make comment on that recommendation? Any further comments? There being no further comments, Councillor Mears.
Sorry, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'd like to support this as well. Differently from Councillor Sharpman, I actually was I guess, well-credentialed amateur boxer in my younger days. No damage here either. But from my experience as well, coming from interstate, things like leagues, clubs, council support, and New South Wales did much better for our athletes in those sports. And it was always a very difficult time travelling Victoria for tournaments up in New South Wales, simply because of the money that was put into it. It's not just about, you know, punching someone around a square ring, but the lead up to these events is a significant amount of training, which opens up, you know, employment in gymnasiums, promotes fitness across the state, and there are many, many people that are involved in the, you know, combat sports that do it solely for training and not fighting. So I think it's a win-win for the community, and if we can promote active sport events as other than the standard athletics, swimming, horse riding, etc. I think it's a great boon for the town, for the city.
Mr Councillor Mears, further comments? There being no further comments, Councillor Ryan Brook.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. If granted this subsidy, do we have any rough figures of how much would be left in the sports and event subsidy budget allocation?
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that was raised at the councillor briefing, and I've asked the staff to include that the remaining budget in future reports. He didn't tell me why it wasn't in this one, but I can't remember. But it will be in future reports, councillor.
I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments, councillors? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye, raising your hands. Aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now move on to item 8.2, Traffic Committee, Tamworth Regional Local Traffic Committee. Could I have a move and a second? And move Councillor Budd, seconded Councillor Impey. Councillor Budd, you wish to speak to that?
Mr. Again, represents some great work by traffic staff and regional services.
Microphone, councillor Budd.
I'll get it right one day. It represents great work by our staff in terms of how they assess, how they risk assess, and how they cost out jobs that come across their desk. Fantastic work. There are 6 recommendations there. 2 of those, item 4 and item 5, are retrospective. The walk a mile in her shoes occurred last weekend. And was supported well, and the parking bays and line marking around the Toorawal Tennis Club has already occurred. So those things took place post the meeting, but nonetheless they are there to be accepted as a recommendation. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Budd. Anyone wish to speak against the recommendations in that report? Anyone wish to make further comment on the recommendations? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I also agree with everything in the report, but I'm particularly looking forward to the Young Drivers Expo. Working at a school and being a father of 3 adult children now, but I think we all would agree that ensuring the safety of our teenagers as they grow up and move into their adult lives is extremely important, and that's exactly what that Young Drivers Expo does. It helps to teach those young people safer driving techniques. I'm particularly looking forward to the police demonstration, braking demonstration, which will be part of the expo on Ringers Road. I've always had a bit of a fantasy, I suppose, of being a police officer and being able to drive a very fast car and brake it suddenly and just enjoy the whole ride along the way. One day I might ask a fellow councillor what that feels like. But no, it's just really good, in all seriousness, to be able to support young people in their endeavours, and being a stepfather of a 17-year-old, it's very important that we support those young people.
Thanks, Councillor Impey. Further comments, councillors? Councillor Mears.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, from my day job, I can't make most of these meetings, and I'm on that committee. I believe Councillor Budd is, and I'd like to thank him for all his work and the experience he brings over from the New South Wales Police Service as well with traffic. Every report we see from this committee is exceptional. They leave no stone unturned, and I have no dramas at all with voting on any of these, on this motion, for the work that they do continually.
Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we now move on to item 9, Governance Strategy and Finance, and we go to first item 9.1. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved Councillor Sutherland, seconded Councillor North. Councillor Sutherland, you wish to speak to that?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation? Oh, you wish to speak against it, Councillor Mears?
I'll probably leave it to comment, Mr. Mayor, sorry.
There being no one wishing to speak against, I'll call for anyone wishing to make comments on that. Councillor Mears.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Here we come again at this time of year where we've got to make a decision whether we get paid more or less. I don't have a problem with the motion in itself. The decision's up to each and every councillor. I do note that in the scale there that we are paid at maximum rate. From my experience in the public sector, that would tend to collate to extremes in workload, time spent conducting council business, which can be extreme for many of us, and or satisfactorily representing residents. And I'm not sure if we're at that point yet. As I said, I have no problem with the decision of the council or councillors in regards to the pay rise, but I believe in the current fiscal position that council still is in, that I'll be voting against the pay rise. I think the money would be left well and truly with council to spend on residents.
Further comments, councillors? There being no, Councillor Budd?
Here we go. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I appreciate Councillor Mears' view, and it's valid. But in my mind, I'm thinking about my fellow colleague councillors, many of which who hold down full-time jobs, have full-time families and still commit 20 to 30 hours a week of work on behalf of community. What this equates out to, in layman's terms, is a cup of coffee a week, 20 or 30 cents an hour increase to the work that these committed people all put forward. And I'd struggle to think that anyone in the community would think that's unreasonable, particularly since it's below the 3.5% or 3.6% national average for wage increases. I think 3% is a small amount of money which recognises the great work that councillors do and commit to community. Thank you.
Further comments, councillors? Councillor Sutherland, did you wish to make comment?
Yeah, I'll close it if Councillor Mears was speaking against the motion. So I guess in closing, to capture Councillor Budd's comment, that the pay increase that's being put forward is a total increase for councillors of around $800 in the financial year. Now, myself, I can speak from my own experience, Councillor Budd. I work full-time, and consistently over the last 3 years, I've probably committed 20 to 25 hours a week on average to the work that I do and love to do for local government. Once you take that $800 increase and divide it by the amount of hours, as Councillor Budd said, it works out to be just under 40 cents an hour of a pay increase, which I know is still an increase. Now, I'm not trying to undermine the significance and the financial pressure that Councillor Mears is mentioning. When you talk around trying to promote or trying to incentivise diverse groups of people, just groups of people from all different working backgrounds, from all different walks of life, to put their hand up into a space, to make a real difference for community, that increase is something that I think is progressively getting to a place which is going to make it more possible for younger people to be a part of local government. The fight, and I am inexperienced when it comes to my role in local government, certainly don't have the years under my belt as you, Mr Mayor, but I understand that the process of advocating for pay as local councillors has been a decades-long journey. And so to try to keep advocate for the role that local councillors play is significant. They're trying to attract the right people to be able to stand up, put themselves in the line of fire in some instances, but also bring their lived experience and their knowledge to provide better spaces for community is important. And if we want to try to promote a space where we have diversity of experience on council, we need to try to remove the barriers that might prevent people from being a part of that. And I believe that financial barriers do exist, especially for younger people stepping into this space. So I will be supporting the maximum increase, which does equate to about $800 of an increase for this financial year.
Thanks, Councillor Sutherland. That closes the debate. So I'll ask councillors now to vote. All those in favour of the recommendation, say aye with your hands up.
Aye.
Those against? Have the staff got that? We've got all councillors have supported by Councillor Mears, who's voted against it. Thank you. Councillors, we'll now move on to item 9.2, quarterly budget reviews. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move councillor North, seconded councillor, who we got? Sorry. Councillor Impey. Councillor North, do you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to congratulate Cheryl Young on putting together another thorough report. At our pre-council meetings, or when we come together to review these together, it's good to see everyone takes a fair interest in this and scrutinises it. We get wonderful feedback and get to see the position of where the council's at for the quarter. And it's tracking well. I'm pleased to see the operating result looking good for this time of year. It's one thing I've seen, and Councillor Matt Sharpen joined me on the plant committee a short while ago in going through the process of a tender. But we got to walk through how we're purchasing, what we're doing, the savings we're making, and I tell you what, it is lean. I've been watching since I've been on council, and it operates efficiently and well. So I'd like to congratulate the staff on that and Cheryl Young for putting this together. It's a comprehensive report that shows where we're at. So things are, we're starting to look pretty good, which is good to see. We've got great plans coming through for next year, so I'm pretty excited by that. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, councillor. Anyone wishing to speak against the recommendation in that report? Any further comments on that report? There being no further comments, I'll put item 9.2. All those in favour of the report, say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. We'll go straight from there to item 9.3, which is council investments, April 25. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move councillor Sharpen, seconded councillor Mears. Councillor Sharpen, you wish to speak to that? Anyone wish to speak against that report? Any further comments on that report? There are no further comments. I'll call all those in favour, say aye with hands. Carried unanimously. Councillors, will now move to item 9.4, annual operational plan. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move councillor Impey, seconded councillor Sutherland. Councillor Impey, do you wish to speak to that? Anyone wish to speak against that report, the recommendation in that report? Any further comments on that? Councillor Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a comment or a question that got posed through the public, and I thought it might be a good space to ask the question here, and that is in regards to the increased expense of legal costs being recorded in there as being higher than of usual. Can we get some insight into that, please, Mr Mayor?
You certainly can, Councillor Sutherland. Mr General Manager. Do you want to answer it? I can answer it if you want me to.
Don't mind, Mr Mayor.
That's director answer, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yes, agree. Our legal costs are have increased over the last several months, and that is generally related. We have 3 different planning appeals in play, and obviously because we're in court in their legal actions, I can't actually talk about the detail of those, but we are of course always trying to minimise those costs, and where we can, if there's a position we can take where there is a potential settlement that is acceptable to the council, we will certainly do so.
You satisfied with that, Councillor Sutherland?
Yes, thank you.
Further questions, councillors? There being no further questions, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour say aye, with hands in the air. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now move to community services, and we have one item in community services, 10.1. Could I have a move and a second? Councillor Brooke, seconded Councillor Budd. Councillor Brooke, you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, just quickly, thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll just say that I'm very supportive of this initiative. Being a pretty large regional council, wherever possible, I think we should be taking steps to reduce barriers for residents that live outside of Tamworth City to be able to access the amenities and services of council. So it's nice to see. In addition to that, mulch and compost products should be something that's a staple in every garden in our LGA, both because of the massive benefits to soil health, but also We're obviously a pretty aspire to be a pretty water-wise LGA, and maximising the amount of water we can capture and store in soil is always going to be beneficial to that. Finally, I guess I'll just make note that we are moving towards constructing a dedicated organics recycling facility. So I think having this trial makes a lot of sense to gauge what sort of market interest there is for these products in those smaller towns and villages outside of Tamworth City.
Anyone wish to speak against that report? Any further comments, councillors?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. And this is a question, I can't remember seeing it in the report, but I'm in full support of the trial, and Councillor Brooke summed it up really well. Just in regards to the promotion of the trial, the community awareness, I think the more people that get on board of the trial, the more chance it is of rolling on into the future. Are there ways that we're planning on just letting community know that this is out in that space, or is that going to come later on as part of the implementation?
Through you, Mr Mayor, we're going to work on that. So the first sale through Windsor, so it'll be through end of July. So obviously the waste team will work with the communications team and we'll come up with the best way to engage. So that'll be through multiple channels, through social media, local advertising in those regional areas. So we'll be selling mulch at Nundle, Manila and Barraba. So the best ways we can achieve that.
Thank you. Happy with that? Further comments, councillors? I'll just make one comment, councillor. I've been banging the drum with the director on this for a couple of years, and it's all come from requests from residents for this service to be applied to Manila Barraba in particular, and some to Nundle. So I'm very pleased to see that this is finally going forward. So councillors, with no more questions, I'll put that to councillors. All in favour, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now move to item 11. Reports to be considered in closed council. Before I call for a motion to move into closed council, I'll ask the General Manager, has anyone requested any of the items in closed council to be held in open council?
No, Mr Mayor.
Is there any call from the gallery for any items in closed council to be held in open council? No, there's not. So could I call for a move to move us into Councillor Budd, second to Councillor North. All those in favour of moving into closed council, say aye. Aye. Councillors will now step into closed council. Thank you to the audience for being here tonight. I'll ask the, we back in? Ask the General Manager to report on items in closed council.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, the report from the closed session of the ordinary council meeting held on the 27th of May 2025. In closed council this evening, you considered 4 items of business. For each of those items, you adopted the recommendations as per the business paper.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. I will call for a motion to accept. Councillor Budd, seconded Councillor Sutherland. All those in favour say aye. Councillors, I thank you for the meeting. I'll now declare the meeting closed.